And that was Natasha Jonas's verdict after 10 hard-fought 2-minute rounds with Mikaela Mayer in defense of her welterweight world title. Caused a lot of consternation. I've seen a lot of people complaining, calling it a robbery, the usual stuff. And just as often as we see that, we see people on the other side say, oh, it was a close fight, could have gone either way. People were too quick to scream robbery. What I haven't seen thus far is anyone on social media who actually had Natasha Jonas a victor in the fight. Ayman, you were there live, ringside in Liverpool. Best seats in the house, of course, for Seconds Out. What did you make of it? How did you score it?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to get some stick, but I'll take the stick here with the fight. I wasn't one of the people that called Natasha Jonas the victor, but I am one of the persons that called this a close fight. And I did call the fight myself a draw. I couldn't really pick between either fight because of the way the fight played out for me. I thought in spits and spats of the fight, I can't name out the rounds particularly that straight to my head, but I thought that Natasha started fast and then maybe faded through the middle and then tried to have a strong end. Jonas did have a lot more output, but sometimes through the fight as well that Mayer did have a lot of output, but Jonas sometimes through those rounds did pick out some real good punches. Maybe as well too, just a bit of reading the fight wrong, and a lot of other people maybe reading it better than I am. I can admit that in some occasions that might happen as well too. But for me, I couldn't split the two fighters, and I thought it was an even fight. And one that I would like to see again. Real good atmosphere, real good outing for both, a good advert for the sport, although the decision for a lot of people wasn't a good advert for the sport. It's the same old commercial for the sport. But for me, I wouldn't mind seeing that run that fight back. Gets a bit more of a bigger spotlight on it. So all in all, really, the potential there for that makes it a lot more bigger. But Natasha Jonas has her plans to go on and collect other belts in the welterweight division. But I mean, this is one of the things as well with boxing fans. I remember when like Ryder came on the end of some bad decisions, and for a lot of people, Jacobs beat Ryder, and they said, "Oh, you know what? He's kind of owed one." Jonas has also been on the end of a couple of bad decisions. Do boxing fans also feel the way that maybe Jonas is sort of owed one? And did she get that owed one here? That pay it forward kind of thing? I don't know. You've got to kind of deal with things individually. But for me, this was a very close fight. For me, this was a draw. And for me, that means that Jonas escapes with her belt.
Well, yeah, we'll go to the chat for some of those views in a minute, but we have got a poll up on the live chat. And we're asking it quite simply, do you feel it was a robbery or do you feel it was a close fight? So please do vote in our poll. Owen says not a robbery or a close fight. So he's kind of shat all over our poll straight away. Says Mayer won by 7 rounds to 3, 6-4 at worst. Surely that is a robbery then, if she clearly won and you can't see any way Jonas won, yet she wasn't given the decision. I digress. Ramoney Mode XD says Mayer 7-3. Jonas won the first 3 rounds and then Mayer won the rest. Easy win for Mayer, he says. Owen says it was sad. Thunder Road says I had Mayer 6-4, but acknowledged I could see some rounds go either way. No robbery with this split decision. And then we had Base the Kid, the hardcore casual, said he had Jonas winning. So he's the only one so far that I've seen anywhere that had Jonas winning. But then I haven't looked at, certain places where her fan base might come from. I haven't seen, I'm sure a lot of the boxers in Liverpool that are often quick to comment on social media probably have backed her, but I'm not sure. I'd have to have a look. But it does raise the question of judging in general. So I wasn't ringside like Ayman. I watched it on TV. Kind of half watched it, if I'm honest. I was flicking between that and the NFL playoff game between the Ravens and the Texans, which was particularly fun to watch. But I did watch most of the rounds in their entirety. And without scoring it on paper round by round, it did seem like Mayer got the better of it. But it did seem like a lot of rounds are close. And one thing I should say that in female boxing, particularly because they are 2-minute rounds, the pace is a lot faster and it can often be harder, certainly in my view, to pick a definitive winner of a 2-minute round compared to a 3. So it wouldn't surprise me if there were more rounds than the typical men's world title fight that could legitimately go either way. The whole thing about Jonas, was she owed one? I think it's a valid point. I don't think that would have entered into the judges' minds, however. But I do see having come on the wrong end of close fights. And again, these weren't robberies, but on the wrong end of close fights with Katie Taylor, Terry Harper, etc. you can kind of understand it. I suppose these things even out. You know, that's what they say in football, don't they? These calls, whether it's VAR or the referee himself, they even out over the course of a season. So maybe you could look at it in that way. But I think you said there about Natasha Jonas got other plans. She wants to achieve, win other belts and so on. I understand all that. But I think if she doesn't fight Mayer next in a rematch, there will be quite a sizable proportion of the fan base who would consider it a duck. In the same way that a lot of people criticise Josh Taylor for not immediately rematching Jack Catterall after his controversial decision win there. And they're only now looking at a rematch, and Taylor's lost to Teofimo Lopez in the interim. Now, while Taylor had a very valid point in that Lopez was a much higher profile fighter and consequently fight than a Jack Catterall rematch, it didn't go his way, which kind of undermined his argument a little bit. But also it was left to kind of simmer. And while there will be, I'm sure, a big audience for the rematch now, maybe not as much as if they'd done it straight away. And Taylor has come in for a lot of criticism from fans, from Catterall's camp, of course, as well, about not going in for an immediate rematch. Just going to go to the chat, and then I will go back to Ayman, where we talk about the broader point of the judging in the UK. So Ramoni Mode XD says, Jonas's coach, presumably Joe Gallagher, said you have to take the belt from the champion. What a load of bollocks. It is a load of bollocks, and there is scoring criteria laid down, and having to rest or, take the title from the champion isn't on there. But a lot of people do still believe that. A lot of people in the boxing industry as well. Thunder Rose says, would like to see 3-minute rounds for championship fights. The extra minute would potentially help in differentiating who won the round. That's exactly what I was saying. Larry Liston, female boxing is incredibly hard to score. Again, I think that is a lot to do with the brevity of the rounds. SFS, didn't I buy a sofa from you? Says, Mayer controlled the fight from 3rd to 10th, 7-3 Mayer. Larry Liston, the changes in the rules from 3 to 2 minutes, bigger gloves and 10 rounds for title fights make it almost an entirely different sport, which can make it considerably harder to score. Base the Kid says, sup Thunder Road. All right, probably didn't need to read that one. Owen says, if these things even out, does Mayer get a gift next fight? She's been robbed by Boxer twice in a row. I actually thought the Alicia Baumgardner fight was quite close. I didn't have a major problem with her getting that decision, to be honest. But maybe I'm in the minority with that one. Ramoni Mode, Serrano did 3-minute rounds and he's having another fight with them. They are much better. Haters have opinions, says they need to make it 12 3-minute rounds. I think most people are agreeing on that. But the WBC have got all sorts of data which suggests it's not a great idea for female boxers to do that. So maybe take it up with Maurizio, Big Mo, the real Big Mo. Makes Sense 71 says Mayer went up 2 weight divisions but fought like the power punching bully, backing Jonas up all fight. You know, bear in mind, Jonas was fighting at what? Lightweight before she moved up to 154 and then down to 147. So you're really looking at 2 lightweights fighting well above their natural division, although Mayer obviously is the taller, broader fighter generally. Haters have opinion. Jonas's best rounds were round 1 and round 3. So, Eamon, just to throw it back to you, this isn't the first, I mean, it's the first of 2024, I guess, that's been accused of being a robbery, but it isn't the first in recent years here in the UK. And it's become in recent times, excuse me, we're getting the sort of bad rap, if you like, that the likes of Germany and Italy used to get when I first entered boxing media, maybe 15, 20 years ago. It was always, you have to knock them out to get a draw. That was the old cliche about British fighters challenging for European or world titles further afield. Now, do you think the UK has kind of taken on that unwanted mantle in the, American fighters and fighters from Europe, probably a bit reluctant to challenge a champion on UK soil?
Yeah, I completely understand and get that feeling. And it's never when you look at 2 fighters and you want to have the outcome be the outcome on, it being a fair scoring system or a fair and equal opportunity for whichever fighter coming in from wherever they're from, whether it be a north-south divide in the UK or whether it be from abroad in Europe or America, whatever it is, that they get a fair shake on the judges' scoring cards. But I also think as well that you've got to, in this instance, Mikaela Mayer will have understood that Top Rank haven't dipped enough in their pockets to bring Jonas over to America to have the fight there. So she will know going in that it's going to be a tough ask. This will be things that we're discussing right now about it being difficult to come to the UK and get a victory. She'll know that going in. So she'll have known, and whether that's fair or unfair, I'm just saying this as what's on the table there for her going into the fight. that did she do enough to make it clear enough? Well, clearly she didn't for those 3 judges, whether that was fair or not. But to that point, that's the uphill battle that she then accepts. To that point, that any fighter then accepts as well. And you should also make mention and notice of that too, as well. I think I'm sure I asked that of Mayer. If I didn't, then I should have. But I'm sure I asked of Mayer, you know, are you not concerned about the judges scoring in this fight? And that's for them to then make that moment, take that moment to say about that, to put a bit of pressure themselves. Say, look, I am concerned. I'm a foreign fighter coming in. I don't know what to expect. I've seen what's happened to other fighters in this country. I want to have a fair shake as well, and put that bit of pressure on, make it known there. So then when you come at this outcome and you don't get the victory, when you feel that you deserved it, then you can make more of a fuss about it too as well. So, but I think she also has to kind of, and any fighter comes over as well in these sorts of situations has to kind of also have a discussion with the promoter and say, well, we could have avoided this. I was clearly going to win the fight, in my opinion. Why couldn't you put a bit more money in your pocket and bring her over here? And we wouldn't be discussing this right now. We'd be on to bigger and better things. And I think that's part of the discussion as well, too. But it's one of those things where, for me, if you know what you're going into, you take the fight, you take it, and you don't get the outcome. It's not the best situation. It should definitely change, but you know what you're in for, really.